Dr. Steigen. Study hard, learn healthy.
Hi there, Shlomo Ben Ze'ev, inventor of the Stander 1.0. I'm here to talk to you today about troubleshooting. Your Stander comes from the box all ready to be used. Pretty straightforward. Obviously, there's some learning curve which needs to be done. However, basically it doesn't need any adjustment whatsoever. You just open it up, stick it down on the table, and start using it. However, sometimes there are problems. The problems can be in one of two ways. Either you can find that the joints of the Stander are too stiff, or you might find that the joints are too loose. Obviously, those are problems and that need to be taken care of. And if you have such problems, we're going to learn today how to take care of them. Okay, within your box, when you get your Dr. Steigen Stander, so you see that there are two wrenches that come with it, which are the perfect size to adjust the screws that are used to hold together the Stander itself. Now there's two types of screws basically. There are the screws which can be found in the middle joints, these two sets of screws. Then there are the screws that are found either attached to the base over here or attached to the reading platform up over here. There's slight differences between them, and I'd like to explain them today. If for whatever reason you find that the middle joints are either too loose or too tight, so you're going to need to use both wrenches simultaneously in order to change that. How do you do so? So I'm going to put one, let's keep them at 12 o'clock, or as close to 12 o'clock as you can put them. One over here and one over here. Okay? Now, because this is a screw, and screws screw, therefore you're going to have to change them in opposite directions if you want to make it tighter or looser. Basically, if you turn only one side, in all likelihood the other side will turn with it too, so nothing will happen. Therefore you need to use both at once, right? Because this is one long screw that connects the two pieces, all the pieces together. So if I want to make it tighter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn, if I'm facing it, clockwise. In other words, this one I'm going to turn towards me, like a clock. This one, if I were looking at it, would also be clockwise. Okay, but from this view, I guess this one is clockwise and this one is counterclockwise effectively. So I want to make it tighter. I'm going to do so like this. Now, I wouldn't suggest making large adjustments. If you tighten it too much, too fast, you're going to break it. After all, these are nylon nuts, what they're called, and what keeps them together is tension. And if you make the tension too great, too quick, you're just going to strip them and they won't hold anymore. So therefore, adjustments should be done very, very slightly. You do as so. Just a slight adjustment like that. And then you see if that is enough to suit your needs. Okay? If it's still way too loose, right? Obviously, if I'm tightening it, the whole point is that I don't want it to be too loose. Then I'm going to take it, I'm going to, again, insert the screws over here, and I'm going to tighten it ever so slightly, like that. Slight amount. That should allow for an increase in the tension and make it easier to use. If I want to make it looser, then I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to insert them again like this, and now I'm going to move in a counterclockwise movement in order to loosen it. Again, you do not want to make very large changes, very slight changes, and see how it goes. Because if you make too big a change too quickly, then again your Stander probably won't hold and you'll have to play with the adjustment again. It already comes pre-adjusted, as I already mentioned. So therefore you don't want to do that too much. Now that's by this and this, okay? Because these two have one long screw that goes between them, and that's how they're adjustable. Now on the bottom and on the top, okay? The screws over here, as you can see down over here, and over here, or over here, are also adjustable. And you should adjust them if you feel that there is a lot of too much tension or too little tension. Now, like anything, because these are movable parts and there's dust in the air, it could be that over time you feel that it's getting tighter, which is a normal phenomenon. And therefore, there are two ways that you might want to deal with this. Number one is, before you start making any adjustments whatsoever, you take, I don't know, liquid wrench WD-40, and you give it a tiny little bit, right, a very, very, very small amount, like that. Itsy bitsy little spritz. That will get into the joint, and then it will become much easier. You'll find that it's much easier now to adjust. You want to be careful not to put too much, because if you put too much, then there won't be any friction holding the parts together, and it won't be able to hold up your book anymore. Right? That's if it's too tight. If it's too loose, obviously, you're going to have to tighten it. However, my suggestion would be, when you get it to a tighter point, you're also going to want to add a little bit of oil. And the reason for that is because sometimes you will over-tighten it. And if you over-tighten it, then instead of being helpful, it will be a hindrance. It'll stop the whole piece from keeping anywhere, and then it won't work whatsoever. Okay, so if you're going to tighten this part, first of all, number one, tighten to very, very small amounts. Right? In the booklet, I wrote no more than 1/8 of a turn. Right? If this is the right, like this, but even that might be too much. It might make it too tight or too loose. You have to be very, very sensitive when you're doing it. Turn in tiny amounts in order to adjust them as necessary. Also, if you're making it tighter, then you might want to consider putting a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of spray oil in order to give it some less friction there, in order that it moves. It will be tighter on the one hand, but it will also have less problem of friction, and it will be movable and not cause problems. Okay, there's one other set of screws which you might need to tighten. Well, there's two other sets of screws which you might need to be tightened. If for whatever reason you find that the wooden board is loose, my suggestion would be, you have over here 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. If you find that they're loose, then the answer is you need to tighten the screws. And therefore these screws should be tightened in order to make sure that the board is securely fastened to the wood. Something else which you might find over time, after all, whenever you move it, whenever you manipulate it, the connection of you can see it here, right? The connection to the base is also with screws. The screws could be accessed from the bottom. So you have each one of these is a connector for the base, and if you feel that for whatever reason the base is moving a little bit, you're going to want to tighten these screws in order to adjust that. Okay, so that's it as far as the troubleshooting is concerned for today. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below, and like and subscribe. I hope that there'll be more content coming out, and I hope that you enjoy the usage of your Dr. Steigen the Stander 1.0.